Honestly, probably the most fun I've ever had with clothes on. Wow, what a race we just witnessed at Talladega. Cleetus McFarland just missed his first official NASCAR career race win by a whisker as he came runner-up to Andy Jankowiak at the Alabama-manufactured Housing 200. And after all the noise around NASCAR saying he was not ready for bigger superspeedway moments, Cleetus just went out there in ARCA and nearly stole the whole thing in one of the craziest finishes you will see all year. He finished second by just 0.111 seconds after leading laps, throwing huge blocks, surviving the Big One, and putting himself in position to win it on the final straight. Officially, Cleetus brought the number 30 home in second place, just 0.111 seconds behind Andy Jankowiak with Gus Dean right there in third. That means he did not just luck into a decent finish through attrition. He was in a real, legitimate door-banging fight for the win at Talladega. And for a guy who was still being talked about like a curiosity a few weeks ago, that is a massive shift in perception. It was a wild one-lap dash for the win, which eventually gave Cleetus his best result on his ARCA resume. Now, before the green flag even dropped, there were already a couple of interesting things around this run. First, there was no normal qualifying session because weather had thrown the weekend around. So, instead of going out and posting a lap, the field was lined up by owner points. And that meant Cleetus had to start 20th. Cleetus rolled into Talladega with that bright lime green number 30 Ford carrying the new Mr. Sam spray wax scheme. It was loud. It was impossible music to miss. And it felt exactly like the kind of over-the-top, very online, very Cleetus look that fans instantly lock onto. Even before the race got crazy, the car already had people talking. Now, I only want to spend a moment on the doubters because honestly, Talladega did the talking for them. Not long ago, Kyle Petty said, "Don't come here if all you are is an internet sensation because you've got no place on a racetrack." That was the energy around Cleetus. A lot of people looked at the YouTube following first and the development curve second. But this Talladega race was the exact kind of performance that keeps punching holes in that argument. You can question whether he is polished. You can question how fast NASCAR should move him. But after this, it gets a lot harder to say he has no place on a racetrack. And this race started showing that pretty early. After rolling off 20th, Cleetus did not hang around in the back just trying to survive. Motorsport reported that he quickly carved his way into the top 10 and settled into 7th before the first caution even came out on lap 30. The Daily Downforce also noted that the field broke apart quickly enough for him to start navigating his way forward. And by the halftime break on lap 41, he was already running second behind Gio Ruggiero. That is not a fluke. That is a driver reading the draft, staying out of trouble, and putting himself where the race matters. And frankly, I did not expect this jump from survival mode to legitimate contender mode to happen this fast in the same race. At that point, you could already tell Talladega was becoming something bigger than just another Cleetus content moment. It was turning into a real motorsports moment. Then came the restart that changed everything. During the competition break, the number 30 team was coaching him up on the restart procedure and how to potentially turn that front row opportunity into the lead. According to Motorsport, Cleetus replied that he loves nothing more than a good old drag race. Then, on the restart, he went door-to-door with Gio Ruggiero, got a push from Daniel Dye, and surged ahead to lead for the first time in his ARCA career. And when he realized he was actually leading, the reaction was perfect. Cleetus screamed his heart out, "Holy things!" And then followed it with "Then, while he was still under caution and talking from the lead, he said, "Mark my words, I am winning this race." And over the radio, he added, "I'm thinking about how lucky I am. I'm living the effing dream. There's no other way to put it. Thankful for all the people who support me. I'm fired up. I'm just like this. Is is awesome, brother. This is awesome. I wish Biff was here. Daytona, baby. Daytona." That right there is the moment this whole run went from impressive to unforgettable because it was raw. It was emotional. It was not a polished sponsor speech. It sounded like a guy who genuinely could not believe the life he was living in that moment. And if you are a fan watching that, you buy in immediately. Now, from there, the race kept getting more complicated because Talladega never lets you have an easy story. Cleetus did not just get to the lead and right away. He held it, lost it, got it back, and kept having to fight through one restart after another. At one point, he reclaimed control of the race as the crowd erupted. Then the front of the field got even more intense. And he ended up in a messy sequence where he got locked to the bumper behind him in a push and turned Jake Ballman while battling for the lead. There was no caution there, but the whole race was getting more unstable by the lap. Then came the wreck that changed the entire complexion of the afternoon. Well, Kimmel was pushing Thomas Annunziata on the outside line when Annunziata got turned down into Ruggiero and the Big One exploded behind and around them. Cleetus narrowly escaped it, but one of the guys who did not was his friend and fellow YouTube personality Squirrel McNutt, George Sicilian. Motorsport specifically notes that Squirrel was among the drivers destroyed in that crash. And the official results sheet shows Siciliano finishing 29th and out. So, while Cleetus was somehow still alive in the hunt, his running mate's day was over in the pileup. That part gets overlooked because the finish was so dramatic, but it matters because for Cleetus, this was not just him out there alone trying to win. This was that whole shake and bake energy he and Squirrel had brought into the weekend. So, to lose a Squirrel in the chaos and still have to reset your brain for a one-lap shootout, that is not, music, easy. That is Talladega asking you to switch from emotional reaction right back into kill mode. And that is exactly what happened. After the red flag and another delay under caution, the race got boiled down to one lap. One lap, that was it. Cleetus restarted at 4th for the final dash. Kimmel briefly got to the lead, then faded. Gus Dean and Cleetus split him, and suddenly Cleetus was right there again, side by side, coming off the final corner with a real shot to win the race. Motorsport describes it perfectly. Dean and Cleetus were side by side exiting turn 4. They made contact, nearly wrecked, and slowed each other down just enough for Andy Jankowiak to rip around the outside and steal the victory. And that is where the 0.111 seconds becomes brutal because when you lose by a second and a half at Talladega, you got beat. When you lose by 0.111 in a last lap door-banging drag race, it feels like the win was already in your hands for a split second and then vanished. That is why the title says disaster. Not because second place is bad. Second place at Talladega in ARCA for Cleetus is enormous. But because this was one of those rare races where you can actually see the win slip away in real time. You can basically frame by frame the exact moment it got gone. And to his credit, Cleetus did not come out of the car making excuses. Afterward, he said, looking at that, I feel like I needed to back up a smidge. I left the number 71, I'm pretty sure, I tried to go down. I didn't have enough room. We started beating each other up, and then Andy passed us and got the W, congrats to him. Then he followed it with the line that really captured the day. What an insane day of racing. The greatest race I've ever been a part of in my life right there. My team, Rhett Jones Racing, Kevin Hamlin, did such a good job. Honestly, probably the most fun I've ever had with clothes on. It was freaking insane. That is such a good post-race response because it sounds like a racer, not just a content creator. He saw the mistake. He acknowledged the lane choice. He gave the winner credit. Then he zoomed back out and recognized just how crazy and how valuable the whole experience was. And that is why this finish is going to age well for him, even though it hurts right now, because it was not empty hype. It was a measurable step forward. He started 20th. He got to second by halfway. He led his first career lap. He survived the chaos. He lost by a 10th. That is a real progression. And even the people who want to hate on him are running out of easy talking points. Now, there is also the Carson Hocevar angle. And I want to touch on that because it says a lot about how much this run resonated beyond just Cleetus' own fan base. Once Cleetus finished the race, Carson Hocevar was seen interacting with him where he cheerfully said, "You might actually win one. And I'm not just saying it for the cameras. You might actually win. Like, you're going to be fine at this. There is not a doubt in my mind. Like, dude, you should hear the crowd when you take the lead. You would have thought the whole place was full. It felt incredible. So happy for you. Such a good job, man. Oh my god. So, the vibe was obvious. Young racing sensation Carson was into it. People around the sport were into it. And the run had enough juice that it instantly became social media material, not just race result material. So, when a guy like that is part of the buzz around Cleetus's run, it reinforces the point that this performance was not being treated like a joke. It was being treated like one of the stories of the day. In fact, almost 200,000 people watched the race live on YouTube. That's some insane number for an ARCA race for that matter. So, now you might be wondering, where do we see Cleetus race next? The next confirmed O'Reilly Auto Parts Series start for him is Nashville Superspeedway on May 30th, where he is set to return with Richard Childress racing in the number 33 Chevrolet. Nashville is his next scheduled step in that program after the Talladega approval drama. And the team has already confirmed he will be back in that car. That means this near win at Talladega now rolls straight into another opportunity to prove he belongs and to keep building the case for more big track chances down the line. And that is the bigger takeaway from this whole Talladega weekend. Yes, it was heartbreak. Yes, he lost by 0.111 seconds. Yes, he is probably going to replay that last corner in his head 100 times. But this was also the strongest answer yet to every person who said he had no place doing this. He did not just show up. He did not just survive. He nearly won at Talladega. That changes things. If you enjoyed this breakdown and you want more daily NASCAR stories told like this, hit like, subscribe to NASCAR Central, and let's push toward 4,000 subscribers on the channel and 100 likes on this video. And tell me in the comments, did Cleetus throw away the win on that last move, or was that just classic Talladega chaos that could have gone to any of 3 cars?